Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm from Ukraine, and I vlog daily to keep you updated on the real life situation in my country, Ukraine, and of course internationally, because there are many important things that happen worldwide and they help Ukrainians win this war. If you're new to the channel, go check some of my videos and please subscribe, because I believe the world needs to know more about Ukraine. And today is one of those videos that I like recording because it is connected to our diplomatic victories, and President Zelensky is visiting London today. Honestly, as a person who studied English both at school and then at the university, I love speaking about interesting landmarks of London and the United Kingdom. I have never been to Great Britain, but there are lots of places that I already know because as a child, it was so sentimental to read the newspapers that were brought to us from Great Britain by someone, or we subscribed to digest or something that updated us on the news of the royal family, I don't know, Spice Girls and other stuff. So for me, for example, a location like Downing Street is the one that I will always know what is there. And there are many beautiful photos of President Zelensky talking to the Prime Minister of Great Britain, Rishi Sunak. And in general, I have to say that Ukrainians are extremely grateful to the people of the United Kingdom for the support that they demonstrate throughout all of this war, but also for the fact that your countries were among the first who supported Ukraine at the very start of this war. I know that Boris Johnson has different attitudes, like people have different attitudes to him, but his position, his attitude to Ukraine at the very start, when so many other European leaders were doubting whom to support, what will happen, it was very important. So in our Ukrainian memory, he will forever remain a friend and a very important person of our modern history. And of course, it is super important that no matter who is the Prime Minister of Great Britain, we continue feeling that support. And Rishi Sunak meeting President Zelensky, who, please forgive us, was still wearing his military dress code, and I'm 100% supporter of this style, because while traveling the world, he is still with Ukraine in this war, and the world has to remember, like, it's not about showing off, demonstrating etiquette. This is about like the survival of the country and the survival of the world. So his military dress code is something that I totally support. And the Prime Minister of Great Britain, Rishi Sunak, supported President Zelensky and acknowledged that the country is going to give like lots of long-distance weapons, which are very important for the protection of the Ukrainian armed forces on the front lines, and also informed that lots of Ukrainian soldiers will receive training in the UK. And once again, this is super good and super important. From what I know, in the year 2022, close to 10,000 people received training in the United Kingdom. And in 2023, they plan to double this number, so like 20,000 Ukrainian soldiers will train according to NATO standards and will be able to use modern jets, modern weapons, modern tanks. All of that is super important, and I know from Ukrainian soldiers who pass these trainings that they are very, very satisfied, and it is a mutually beneficial process, because many knowledge that they receive they can use in reality, and then they also return this feedback and they report about this full-scale war that is a kind of experience that I don't wish anyone to have, but for professionals in the army, in the British army, in the American army, in any other army, it is extremely interesting and useful to know how these modern wars take place, like full-scale wars, not fights with jihadists, but like full-scale war, something we did not have in Europe for a really long time, and I hope will not have after we defeat Russia. So these are good news, both about weapons and about training. Also, President Zelensky met the King, King Charles III. It's still unusual for me to name him that way, and in my head I have first associations with the Queen. She was super popular here in Ukraine, but I hope the King will not be worse than she is. And I think it is a very interesting experience for him, and maybe a couple of years he could not imagine himself talking to the king. And all happened in Westminster Palace, if I'm not mistaken. Also, Zelensky had a meeting in the House of Commons, and that is also like very symbolic and very important for both people of Ukraine and our president. And I think that this is one of the greatest tours that Zelensky had, and he's most of the time in Ukraine. His first visit was to the United States, and now this visit to the United Kingdom is very important for us. I think it is both, first of all, the demonstration of our gratitude to the people of the United Kingdom, and also it is his like guarantees that we are going to do and use, for example, these long distance weapons only according to the conditions that you allow us to. It creates lots of problem because many people are afraid of escalation, and Ukraine is only allowed to use these weapons on its own territory without targeting Russian places that actually target us. I don't think it's fair, but taking into account that we receive this support only on the condition that we will not target anything on the territory of Russia, we accept these conditions. And I think that one of the reasons why President is today in London and tomorrow he's planning to be in Paris, it is like to give these guarantees that we will not target Russia. So that you don't have to worry when you supply us with the weapons. But believe me, this decision on escalation or nuclear bomb or whatever is not based on the actions of Ukrainians, but based on the diagnosis of Putin, just as this war. It is all about him, about his crazy thoughts and other things. So one of the tasks that Zelensky is performing right now, perhaps he tries to fasten the process of weapon supply for Ukraine, because we need to be armed, and Russians understand that. That's why they try to attack us from different directions, because they realize that we are waiting for these weapons. We're just keeping our position stable. We try not to step back, but we also are not able to counter attack them. So Russians will try to use this month to grab as many of Ukrainian territories as they can. And our task is to ask the world to arm Ukraine faster, not to be afraid that we will break any rules, because Ukrainians are not like that. Even if we understand that rules are not like 100% fair, and I think it is totally normal to target Russian military bases, those places from which the missiles are shot on the to the territory of Ukraine. It's totally normal. But even if we are not allowed to do that, we will not do that. Ukrainians are not breakers of the rules. We always respect the rules, and we are grateful, so we understand that we have to follow the rules of those people who provide us with weapons. So I think one of the main reasons why Zelensky is traveling right now is to promise that everything will be according to the plan, but please give us these weapons, the sooner the better. And I know that in comments some of you say like, why are you asking for weapons when you're not trained yet? Believe me, lots of people are training, and they are training right now. They were training months ago. It is not always on media. Many of those who travel these countries, they don't receive visas, they don't travel officially, but they train, and they will be ready to use these weapons when they arrive. Not all of the things are like open because it's war, and there are lots of military things that have to be hidden or will be known later. And I'm also glad that the standards, NATO standards, are introduced into the Ukrainian army. That's what makes me feel optimistic. Once again, I want to thank you and your countries for the support that you demonstrate both to the people and to the country Ukraine, to our freedom and democracy. And I guarantee you that we'll do everything we can to protect Europe, to protect world from Russian orcs. Thank you for buying me coffees. Thank you for becoming my patrons. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and do check our series Soviet Myth Debunked, because this is something that we do with so much inspiration. Slava Ukraini!